Christian Rasmussen, one top 10, an incredible performance at the 500. Give me your insights on your season so far.
Yeah, it's been a little bit up and down, I think. We've shown good pace at multiple locations now, and, have had a couple of fast 12s now, and, top 10 at Mid-Ohio, which was really cool. So it's definitely all coming together here towards the end. This will obviously be my last race of the year, only doing the road and street circuits, but just looking to finish it off strong and just kind of keep building on the direction that we've been heading all season long.
Talk to me about what a ideally good result would be for you this weekend. If we're talking Sunday, you're looking at me and saying, I'm proud of what we've achieved today.
Yeah, I think another fast 12 and probably a top 10 in the race, I think, is probably where we are right now, and I would consider that a good weekend.
Obviously a little bit of rain this morning. Is that something you guys have been talking about at all in the trailer, and is that something you're kind of approaching this weekend with?
Yeah, it looks like it's going to stay dry for the rest of it, so hopefully it kind of dries up for our practice session later today. That'll make it a lot more useful for everyone, but we're just kind of seeing what it gives us this weekend.
So you're in the camp of maybe rain would not be helping you out this weekend?
Yeah, I don't think so, especially when it only looks like it's going to rain today. If it's going to rain Sunday, I wouldn't be opposed to that. I think I haven't done a wet race in INDYCAR yet, but usually suits me pretty well. So rain on Sunday I wouldn't be opposed for, but it looks like it's only going to be today.
Going to end on a big one and then a fun one. Obviously a lot of speculation going into this silly season, not just you, but for a lot of drivers. Is there anything you can share on your progress towards returning in 2025?
Not other than I would love to be back in the INDYCAR series. That's my goal, and that's what we're working towards. I would love to come back at Carpenter Racing. I think we've really showed some good stuff here towards the end. So to build on that for next year, I think would be a good thing, we'll see. Nothing is done yet, and I'm just hoping to be back.
Sure, there's a lot of people that would love to see you back. Rinus, Veekay, we had a really long stretch there where we were looking for top 10s, and now we're looking at 4 or 5 at this point?
Yeah, I think it's 4 in a row now, so looking pretty good, and I feel like we can extend it to the end of the season, so would love to get a few top 5s in there, though. That would be even better.
Talk to me about your expectations or what you hope to achieve here in the last couple of races, especially going into some unfamiliar territory with Milwaukee and Nashville.
Yeah, I mean, those are tracks I've tested on Milwaukee. I've never been to Nashville, so it's going to be kind of a guess on what's going to happen with little practice time. But, I mean, from what I've seen, everything, it's turn left. Yeah. I think we'll figure it out pretty soon, and we got a simulator that can at least help me get familiar with the track and where to run.
At the point now, going back to the car, where we're 5 races in now with the hybrid system, are you kind of at the point now where the hybrid system kind of feels like second nature?
It does, yeah. When I first tested it, I didn't know anything about hybrid systems, but it does feel like it's been like that for a long time. It doesn't feel like something I need to be conscious of doing. So no, it feels very normal and very familiar. I think it's not a very complicated system either. Like it's pretty simple, and coming from I'm from the gaming era, so adjusting to different buttons, it's not that hard now.
Gonna have a serious one here, and then we'll end on 2 fun ones. Obviously, a lot of speculations here for the 2025 season and the silly season. Anything you can share with us on progress towards getting a ride next year?
Nothing yet. No, I wish we had something set already, but no, we're still looking at what is the best thing we can do to excel my career.
I'm not alone here when I say we'd love to have you back. Stingray Robb, first top 10. Talk to me about your experience at Gateway.
Well, it was awesome. Qualifying, I knew we had a better car the more we qualified. So I was hoping that we'd go forward in the race, but based off the ovals that we had this year so far, other than the 500, it's been really hard to pass just because the field's so competitive. The new tire compound makes it difficult. The degradation level is very low, so you don't have that big beginning of stint, end of stint sort of crossover that you normally see at an oval. But we raced really well. Conditions were really good for us. As the temps cooled on the track, we got faster and faster, and kept moving forward. It's really good.
Talk to me about what your goals are for the rest of the season, where if we're talking at the checkered at Nashville, we can say, I'm proud of what I've achieved this year.
I think a couple more top 10s would be great, especially with the ovals coming up. It seems like we've had a really good car recently on those, so I think we're going to keep building that. The compound, like I said, has been different this year, so I think that we've kind of found a platform that's good for that tire. But being here at Portland, this is kind of like my home race, and so if we could get a top 15, top 12, top 10 here, I'd be very stoked.
Boise, Idaho native. Does it feel like, because during Iowa we had a very negative reflection on the on-track product, did the wheel-to-wheel aspect of Gateway spook you guys or catch you by surprise at all?
I don't know about spook. I think that we were all very happy to see that we could actually race. Iowa, I think, was a little bit of an anomaly just because the repave. I'm hoping it was an anomaly because Gateway was great racing. And we got to see the line kind of expand because there was no marbling from the tire that wasn't degrading as much as we normally see. So the line stayed wider longer than it had at past years. So that was really good to see.
Let's talk about the rest of the season here after Portland, Nashville, and Milwaukee. Does going to a place where it's a place people haven't been a while, that feel like kind of a field balancer for you?
No, because I know there's still some guys that have experience there, but I think anytime you go to a new track, the guys that have been testing there, because there has been a little bit of tire testing, a little bit of hybrid testing there, it gives them an advantage. And we're one of the teams that hasn't tested there. So I don't think it levels the field at all. I think that it kind of gives the teams that have that small edge a bigger advantage than what we normally see.
Graham Rahal, one of the few guys that's been, I'm not trying to call you old, I promise, that's been around here since the Champ Car days. A lot of up and downs on memories. Talk to me about your relationship with this track.
Yeah, actually, one of my first big wins, Star Mazda, was here. Formula Atlantic the year after that, I was on pole here. I got taken out second corner. Well, not even really taken out, just hit in the rear, broke the shift lever. Took us out of the race, though, ultimately, which kind of stung. But, and then Champ Car was very competitive here. So, and obviously the last 2 years here, we've led a lot of the race. Last year as well as 2 years ago in the Total car. So, things have changed, quite a bit for sure. The cars are changing. That's going to be the topic of this weekend, is to see it's quite fast corners here. How does that feel? But it's a great track, beautiful area of the world, and hopefully we can. I'd just love to win another one here. It's been, like I said, just so close yet so far, it seems.
You were one of the initial drivers that came in at the start of the DW12 era, and that car's gone through so many changes over the years. How has that affected you from behind the cockpit? How much of a difference has it been from behind the cockpit?
Yeah, this chassis is the cat with 9 lives for sure, and it just, when it started, it was very challenging because of the weight distribution. Very hard to get the car to feel good. But then it evolved into quite a racy car there. The Aero Kit car was a wild example of it. My favorite generation was probably right after that, even though the Aero Kits, when I had my most success, 5 of my wins came during that, that experiment with the crazy aerodynamics and stuff that we had. And then now here we are entering not only the aero screen phase, but now the hybrid phase. Things have, it actually shows you though how good the chassis itself was, right? That it could go through this many phases and still be pretty competitive, which is great.
Asking it to do things it was never supposed to do, right?
It was never supposed to be this heavy. It was never supposed to have a hybrid. It was never supposed to have an aero screen. It was never supposed to do, the aerodynamics that the car has accepted is probably a 600-pound range up or down. It's a wild difference from where it originally was designed to be.
You've had Portland experience. You've also had Milwaukee experience. Does that feel like that's going to help you at all for the remainder of the season, or does it feel like such a difference from the last time you guys were there?
It's night and day from when we were there last, but also just everybody in this sport is damn good now. And so, it's not like a guy like Scotty McLaughlin's going to take a race weekend to warm up to Milwaukee. He's going to be good within 5 laps. So, that's just the facts. That's the realities of where we're at. So, our car, I thought St. Louis we got a lot better on race day. Hopefully that can carry over to Milwaukee and we can be in a better place there. And then obviously you go from Milwaukee, which is a flat I mean, all 4 of the short ovals that we run here at the end of the year are all wildly different. Iowa, Gateway, Milwaukee, flat, there's no banking really, and then you go to Nashville, which has a lot of banking. So it's going to be pretty unique here to finish this season off.
Romain Grosjean, a lot of highs and lows so far this year with Juncos. Talk to me about everything this year so far up to Portland.
Yeah, I think we've had a very good season. Don't think we've been paid back properly. Very unlucky in a lot of events, but generally, improving race after race. I think we have some very good qualifying and very good race pace, and whenever everything comes our way, it's going well. So a very good season. We're not where we should be in the standing, but control what we can control.
You've got the F1 experience, so I kind of want to throw this one at you. Would you say there's a lot of parallels to the chicane here to maybe turns 1 and 2 at Monza? Do you approach it maybe the same way as a driver?
No, it's fairly different because the chicane here you can cut the first part of the curb, or you cannot in Monza. So back in the days in Monza, turn 3 and 4 before they redid all the curves, but no, sadly it's kind of a very unique one.
Talk to me about what you want to achieve before the end of the season, where if we're talking again at Nashville, you can say, I'm really proud of how we closed this year out.
I think I'm very proud of what we've done this year so far already, and of course we're going to keep trying, keep knocking into top 10 and top 5. For sure, if we stand on the podium, it would be fantastic, but I mean, we keep growing, we keep moving forward, and I'm very happy where we are.
You've probably been asked hybrid questions a million times, so I'm going to throw you the last one here, promise. 5 races in, do we feel like we're at the point now where we're used to it?
Used to what?
Does it feel like second nature now using the hybrid system? I know you had F1 time, so that probably helped, but are you done adapting to it?
Yeah, I mean, yes, I'm still not the biggest fan of the hybrid, but it's part of our racing. We just need to get used to it. I'm sure there's a lot of room for improvement for next year, and I'm expecting INDYCAR to make a big step.
Toby Sowery, fantastic debut a couple races back. Has it felt like a smooth introduction for you to INDYCAR?
As smooth as can be. Mid-Ohio went really well for us. It's a shame we didn't get the extra position that we really wanted to get into, but yeah, it was fantastic. I mean, DCR have done a fantastic job. They're obviously quite experienced at bringing new drivers in, so they've made it very easy for me and been a massive support and really been kind of influential in giving me the platform to perform. So far, so good.
You and Hunter McElrath are the only 2 drivers to have made a debut during the hybrid era. Do you feel like that's had any benefit towards you kind of getting your feet wet in this car?
Probably not, no. You mean it's an extra thing we have to learn. It's not the easiest thing to jump in IndyCar and just kind of get racing straight away. Normally get a winter season prep, but unfortunately neither of us got that opportunity. So having to learn the hybrid as well makes it a bit more difficult, but I think we both did a great job at overcoming that obstacle. So I think it proves that, we can kind of swim with the big boys.
As a guy joining mid-season without that preseason preparation, what's been the hardest thing to adapt to or get used to from behind the wheel?
Just the length of the race. Obviously we're both doing endurance racing as well, but the length of the race where it's a lot more full on and there's less of a rest. There's obviously strategy to be involved, but when you've got 5 push laps and then kind of limiting the rest to extend a stint, we don't really have that in IndyCar. So pushing the whole stint for 3 or 4 stints and the duration of the races is probably the biggest thing you have to get acclimatized to. But generally, it's another race car. It's got steering wheels, got some pedals. So minus a little bit here and there, it's fairly easy, fairly straightforward.
Well, Power, a lot of highs and lows this season. Talk to me about the mentality going into Portland.
It's almost a must-win situation. Not really, but certainly sort of podium. Yeah, you've got to turn up this weekend. Man, last week was very just disappointing because that was sucks when you have a very good race for 90% of the night and it ends like that. A very good car, a chance at winning, but that's racing, sometimes you win from 21st like in Iowa. It's like you can't complain. Turning up, very focused, as I always am, but I feel good and I think the car will be good. we'll see what happens.
We know you guys are fast on the ovals, and you've had Milwaukee experience before.
Yeah.
Does that help at all? I was talking to Graham. He said it was like night and day for what Milwaukee used to be, but does it feel like you might have even just a little bit of advantage from when you used to ran there?
It is very, very different. It's lost a lot of grip, and I think the tyre they bought is just too hard. So it sort of just never gets into the track. Yeah, I think experience somewhat helps, but ultimately one session in, you kind of get the lay of the land.
Talking about the tires, obviously Iowa was really hard to pass, and then you guys are consistently running side by side at Gateway. Did that catch any of you guys by surprise, the on-track product there? Or?
It caught me by surprise. You know, when I saw it turned into 2 lanes again, it took Joseph to go up there. And 2 things, I would say: a harder tyre, so there wasn't as many marbles, and more downforce, so the car didn't slide as much to create marbles. They were probably 2 factors that played into a really good racing.
So the answer isn't softer tires, less downforce, it's harder tires, more downforce.
It's very, very difficult to get the formula right everywhere. For that particular race, that was the formula, because you got a 3 and 4 that's almost flat, and you've added enough to be, just flat enough to get a run on someone. If someone struggles more, there's a bigger difference. But yes, that's the first time I've realised, yes, harder tyres, more downforce, less sliding, less marbles. That's not the answer everywhere, because it's a low bank track, so it's hard to say what a high bank track would be the case. But when we raced IRL, that was the case. It was just massive downforce, so you just stayed side by side. You never even passed because there's no differentiator. So very tough to get that right. But that's the formula for that track. We know now, and you can just tickle on it a little bit. But that was a track that you really could never pass at. That now turned into a fantastic race. So shows we can do it. We just got to do our homework.
You, Graham, a couple of other guys, Scott Dixon, have been here since the genesis of the DW12 era. The car's changed a lot, obviously. How much has that evolved for you behind the wheel? How much has it changed for you?
The car, has changed significantly. Moving the weight distribution forward, the radiators forward. Aerodynamically, it changed. Obviously, we went through 3 different aerodynamic iterations. We're on the 3rd one now. The 3rd one was much better for racing, much closer, a lot more downforce from the floor. Looking forward to the next iteration of actual car.
Josh, good to see you again. I know last year you had big news about your program this year. Overall, how would you rate this season?
Not great. I think we've really been on the back foot this season in the 14 car, and it hasn't been where we want to be, especially for kind of like my first full year, coming off of a decent half year last year. I feel like we've wanted more, and so I'm a bit disappointed with where we are currently heading into Portland. But that being said, there's lots of room for improvement. I've made lots of mistakes this year. And along with some bad luck, it just hasn't been what we were hoping for as a crew and as a team. And sometimes years are like this, where you have a bad year and an off year, and it's all about how you make the comeback. So, I'm looking forward to this weekend and hopefully starting off on a strong foot here for the last couple of rounds.
Now, of course, with your racing background, being from the Pacific Northwest, we had rain today. Tomorrow looks iffy. We don't know if it's going to be wet or not. Do you have a preference, a dry race or a wet race?
I don't really have a preference. I mean, ideally, I'd like it to be dry, especially because I just don't have that many laps around here. I think I touched on this last year about this being my home track, ironically, because I've never really driven it before. So last year was my kind of first experience, and that was all in the dry. So if it ends up raining, that's just going to add a new challenge for me, and I'm going to be having to learn a new circuit in the wet. So, I'm fine either way. Obviously, I've got lots of experience practicing in the rain in a go-kart and driving in the rain because I'm from the Pacific Northwest, but that doesn't necessarily give me an edge, especially when you've got lots of guys coming from European motorsports like Kaio that are really, really good in the rain, and Louis Foster as well. So lots of tough competition. I think either way is going to make for an exciting race. So I'm fine either way. I think I'd probably prefer it in the dry if possible, but whatever it throws at us, we're going to be ready for it.
And then last year we saw turn one, the Shelton chicane. issues. It seems to be a tradition here at Portland International Raceway. When it comes to qualifying, how critical is that going to be to ensuring getting through that first corners cleanly?
It's a big deal, especially in a series like Indy Next, and even in INDYCAR, qualifying is a big portion of it. At least in INDYCAR, you have a bit more that you can do strategy-wise to try and make up a deficit. But in Indy Next, we don't get that, right? We don't do pit stops. We don't have to save fuel, so it's flat out the whole time. And so where you qualify makes a really big difference, and that's particularly been my kind of downfall this year, is I never really had a strong qualifying performance aside from Road America, Road America was my best finish of the season so far. So we know it's important to get into qualifying, and for sure here it makes a big difference. If you can be further up the grid, going into that first turn, there's less of a chance of maybe being in the melee. So mid-pack is probably the worst spot to be in turn one here, but hopefully we play nice this year and it stays clean. But it's always a risk, and it's just a matter of dealing with it in a respectful and calm demeanor.
Thank you so much for your time. Best of luck to you this weekend.
Thank you very much. Thanks for taking the time.
Jack, welcome to Portland. Jack, how excited are you for this race weekend here at Portland International Raceway?
I'm super excited. I've been here before in the junior cars, so it's nothing new. But I mean, this track is so cool. The people here are cool. The city, just everything about it. It's awesome. I'm from the Midwest, so all the nature and everything out here is not what I'm used to.
Now, of course, Portland, compared to some of the other road courses, it's much smaller, a lot less elevation change. We're talking INDYCAR, some 1 minute laps for you guys, a little bit longer, but do you think the competition is going to be just as fierce, and any concerns about that first corner with everybody on that first lap?
I mean, I've been on the receiving end of the turn one, and then I've also benefited a lot from turn one, so I think that it kind of is what it is. Personally, I love this place. This reminds me of like an IMS or any of those really like flat road courses. And I think that this breeds good racing, and it makes it where it's like really tight. You'll see the whole field almost within a second of each other. So personally, if you gave me this option over somewhere that has the elevation and all of the super technical turns, I'd choose one of these places.
Portland, weather, we're seeing wet weather today. Any concerns about the weather for the race, and a preference wet or dry race?
The weather, man, it is what it is. If it's dry, then that's fun. But I also really like when it's wet. I've been here when it's wet before, so no complaints there. But I mean, that's something I don't have control over. So I'm just going to do the best that I can do.
And then with the remaining season, what are some of the big goals you have, especially as we're wrapping up for this year and start entering into next year?
I think big goals are just get top tens and do well in qualifying is really what I'm planning on doing. So that's kind of it. Not anything special.
Thank you so much for your time, Jack. Best of luck to you this weekend.
Thank you guys for having me.
Louis, good to see you. This season, a lot of people are seeing you as the champion sort of coming. How do you feel about this year and people saying that you got this all wrapped up, the championship?
Yeah, I mean, it's not over till it's over, but we've had a really good car all year. Me and the Andretti team, we've all hit our strides really well, so we've just worked really, really hard to be at this point.
Now, you've had success here at Portland before. How excited are you for this track in particular compared to the remaining of the season?
Yeah, I think obviously it's our last road course of the year, so I'm looking forward to it. But no, I enjoy it. It's great to come back up to the Pacific Northwest. It's an awesome track, awesome place as well. Oregon is a beautiful state. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping we can have a weekend like last year, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Now, of course, Indy Next, part of the ladder system, Road to Indy. When it comes to 2025, is that something that you're just putting behind, like I got to focus on the Indy Next championship, or is that something where already people are starting to question you, like what's going to happen next year? Are people starting to make you speculate, like what should I be doing next year?
Well, I mean, I think it's clear that the goal is to go to INDYCAR next year. But it's a very difficult championship to get into, even if you do win Indy Next by Firestone. Sponsorship is hard to come by, and it's expensive to get in. So yeah, we're still looking for sponsors and looking for people who can help us get up to INDYCAR. But yeah, any opportunity we get will be greatly appreciated.
And last question, this year, a lot of competition in Indy Next. Jamie Chadwick, Jacob Abel. Overall, do you feel this is one of the most competitive years for Indy Next?
Yeah, I think it's just been getting stronger and stronger. You look back to 2018 when there was like 8 cars in the field. whereas this year we've had pretty much a full field all year of 20 cars. So yeah, I think it's getting more and more competitive every year, as every championship does, you know. So, it's great to be a part of it, and it's great to have such a good season whilst it's this competitive.
Louis, thank you so much for your time. Best of luck to you this weekend.
Thank you.
Jacob, welcome to Portland. This year, very competitive year. Overall, how would you rate your season in Indy Next?
Yeah, it's been very strong. You know, we've come out here and won some races and got some really good results, a bunch of podiums, some pole positions. It's been a really excellent year for us as a team. You know, we've been in that championship hunt all season long, and that's really all you can ask for. So, yeah, hopefully we can, get another win or two to end off the year, and that'd make it really awesome.
When it comes to Portland International Raceway, how important will it be qualifying, not only to just stay ahead of the competition when you start the race, but also the race itself? Because everyone talks about the Sheldon Chicane, but after that Sheldon Chicane, what are some of the big challenges of this road course?
Yeah, I think honestly that's the biggest thing is getting through turn one. The race doesn't really start until about turn 3 on the first lap. If you aren't in the fight by then, you're obviously not going to have a chance to win or anything like that. Unfortunately, we did get caught up in that last year here in turn 1, so the tire wear and all of that's going to be a little bit of an unknown for our program. But yeah, looking forward to it. I think we've got some exciting things to bring for our road course package for this weekend that we feel pretty confident about.
And this year was Indy Next, big fields throughout the entire season. The competition level we're seeing this year, is this one of the most competitive fields you've been in your racing career throughout the Indy ladder system?
Yeah, it's competitive for sure. I mean, there's a lot of really, really strong drivers for sure. Obviously, Louis, myself, Kyle Collette's been a super proven talent in Europe, as well as Jamie Chadwick. And, you have proven winners up and down the grid. So it's been pretty awesome to be a part of that and be at the front of that. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's just another race, and they're just other drivers. So you just got to kind of take it one race at a time and one corner at a time and move forward.
Jacobs, thank you so much for your time. Best of luck to you this weekend.
Thank you.